There it is. It's on.
Okay, great. Great. Yes, because this is really instructional for my team to figure out, again, if we do get a scope of work, we'll figure out what, teammates to bring along. And others will just get a chance at the other scope of work. But this is really going to help me get more organization in bringing all these resources together. So if you can, Dina, can you try to introduce as best you can the opportunity for Dakar to help the California State University Entertainment Alliance bring the summit to not only your audience, but any other audiences that you think that we can help you with?
Yes, thank you. And I do apologize for my delayed video presence. I think that this particular event really is geared towards more faculty. We are going to be inviting students, but it's like, if you could create a course on what life is really like, and then convey that information to students, like what would you tell teachers? We at the Cal State Entertainment Alliance, and I'm so thrilled, Terrence, that you're a Fullerton grad. It's like, if you could go back to your professors and say, y'all, this is what you should be teaching, I think that would be really useful information, because that could trickle down to the students. That information will be internalized by faculty. It could be incorporated into future curriculum. It's like, instead of talking the one time to that one group of students who could show up on that one day,
right.
How could we make a panel have more wider impact than just that one day?
Oh man, Dina, I can't tell you how nice it is to hear you say those kind of things. I mean, so I've often wondered, going back, I mean, I came to Cal State Fullerton in 1989 from Virginia Tech, and graduated in 91. And that was the one place I found my center and I found my opportunity because of what I learned there, because it was practical. If people ask me today, why would you go from this to there and all the rest? But not about that story as much as it is about the teachers I had, the things they taught me and how I used it, and maybe how that could progress, because I don't know that there are those, and maybe there are, right? Maybe that's the connection. Maybe you do have teachers, faculty in the Cal State system that have the expertise to bridge the gap. I was fortunate enough to have a guy who was at IBM and a guy who ran his own ad agency. And those are the guys I learned from, because I only came in for my, junior and senior level, right? I had already had my undergraduate. Cal State provided me that, but it was practical. I came from Old Dominion University and Tech, not practical. It was all theoretical. And great to have theory, but practical is what it's all about in this bridging.
I don't care about theory. I could give less of a crap about theory. I and many others, I'm not the only one out there, right? These are the people that we're going to invite to this event. It's the people that care about what is actually happening in the industry, want to keep a finger on that pulse, so that whatever they teach the students is actually relevant to where the industry is not only at, but where is it going?
Sure. No, look, I think we're already behind the curve, and the only way you're going to do this is to leapfrog it. You're going to have to be where the puck is going. You're going to have to build a program that meets a kid where they're going, not even where they are, and not even the bridge. I mean, the bridge is fine, but if you're doing the bridge, you're still behind the curve, in my opinion, right? And there's a big gap, and technology is increasing that gap daily. Like, for my job, I have to stay ahead of what's happening in technology, even to keep in the game relevant. And the thing I'll say is, I'm a 50, almost 56-year-old guy in a 30-some-year-old person's business, but only because I got in it when I was a 20-something. And I didn't forget what it took to get me in it, and that hasn't changed. So the things that I have incorporated, those fundamental principles haven't changed. The game changes. right? All the technology, and where I don't think the industry keeps up is, or college keeps up, is on all those changes. Like you're still teaching those fundamentals, which I use every day, but it's not relevant to what I see every day and how I could apply it to
Well,
get
one of the
paid. To get
questions
paid.
that I have for you, being, knowing your involvement with Redbox, and to my understanding, that still involves physical media assets. You go to
Yes.
the Redbox, you go to the vending machine at the Walmart,
Yeah.
and you pick it's almost like catering to the anti-Netflix crowd. And I
Absolutely.
think it's so important for our students today to understand that there is still a very active market for that audience. You should not discount the fact that people do actually still want to own and rent physical DVDs, right?
Right.
That model is not completely dead yet, and that's the space that Redbox occupies. And I just think that people who are 18 to 24 have completely written that off, and they have
Oh wow.
no idea.
So Dina, so let me bring that to you in my daily conversation. So I just got finished training a bunch of people who are reps selling my value proposition at Redbox. 100 people across the country. I was on a call, and the point was 80% of an 600 to 800 million dollar a year market. Right, it's like at that level, it's still physical DVDs. 20% is us competing with the Netflix of the world, but we don't compete with Netflix. I'm in new releases, right? We compete with Vudu, and then we have Free Live TV now, so it's Tubi. So I'm part of the digital revolution of taking that physical business into digital. But if I didn't understand the physical, I would never have the job to bring in. I'm the digital guy in a physical company, but half my job is putting stickers on boxes in physical locations. I swear to you, I'm rolling out video
Really funny.
screens on
Yeah.
boxes, but I have 41,000 locations. Everybody's 5 minutes away from my product physically, and that's 80% of a $600 to $800 million a year business,
Right.
which is no small potatoes when we got bought for 1.4 billion in 2016, and it's just spitting off cash, right? It's a Warren Buffett model. Buffett would buy the red boxes of the world because we're still spitting off cash in a real world where everybody else is thinking Netflix is taking the cake or whatever. But I'm in Middle America. You said it. We're at Walmart, Dollar General. Guess where we are? I'm in Podunk, whatever city, and they know Redbox. And the
Yep.
fact that I have 40 million people who know what Redbox is and transact with us every year, that's my goal, right? That's my marketing business knowledge that my job is to convert and make them enterprise customers across that whole value prop. But to your point, if kids understood the same business principles apply, but you have to look at both being where the world is going and where the world has been in order to find that opportunity, then there are lots of jobs
Yeah.
in that, like, just like as a production guy, if you knew cinematography, could you not only shoot for movies, but could you take your cinematography skills and also provide it right here, right? How would you change the Zoom environment as a cinematographer to make this more appealing if I wanted to broadcast it? Right? Because that's part of what we want to do, right? We want to take this conversation right here, we want to put it in front of 5,000 people, and we want to control it. We want to control. Terrence is going to say this. Dina's going to say that. Kevin's going to say this. We have a host overlaying this. Here's some video flying in, right?
Yeah.
These are all the production, even to have the conversation. I think that's our opportunity.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
like to lead
I
by
do.
example and produce what we say we're going to produce so that the kids learning it are learning something that's a skill even while we're doing it.
Totally. And I think, as having graduated from Fullerton, that California is its own bubble. And the kids that are in California have no idea. They have no clue.
They don't know how
Middle America
privileged
works.
they are.
Actually, Terrence, I've seriously, this is no joke. I've considered setting up a study abroad program in Oskaloosa, Iowa.
Wow.
I'm not even joking. I'm going to send students from California,
You should.
small town
You
Iowa,
should.
so
It's
they
the
could.
opposite of so Chicago. So my work with Columbia College Chicago Hollywood campus was what people expect to come abroad. People pay $10,000, $25,000 for a semester at Raleigh Studios across from Paramount that lets you see that Hollywood experience. But I do believe kids here who take that for granted need to go back to freaking Iowa or wherever else and understand this is how people live. Your consumer lives here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they have no
my-
idea because they've never left California. That's the thing. They've
They
never
don't get
left.
it.
And
Yeah.
they can only conceive of the
Ooh.
job market that is actually physical Hollywood. And they just don't have a clue how middle America lives. And that's a problem. And it's a problem not just for our students, it's a problem nationwide, and it's why we're so polarized, right?
It's a problem for the
why we
media,
have
it's a
the
problem for
elite
the
coast.
politics, it's a problem for the haves, the have-nots, it's a problem for who controls access to the money and the media and the business, right?
Exactly.
So I do believe it's a microcosm of the issue. So if you could put that in context, you're looking at people of color, us, whatever, whoever, who understands how it works, but saying, hey, look, how do you work within the system? How do you understand how to build something that suits the guy in Iowa just like it suits the guy in California? Because that's all we're talking about, right? Democratization of media and resources and jobs and opportunities. I understand that I'm privileged, right? I live in my house. You're seeing my living room, right? I'm here in Murrieta, Temecula, California. 55 with like a couple of kids living a life, but I'm 55 as a Black man who are maybe in my life, I look at maybe I could have been here at 30 if I wasn't a Black person taking my path. I don't feel bad. I understand it is what it is. But we are talking about the fact that if I knew the game then, and I had the advantages. I had a Cal State Fullerton education. I had a Virginia Tech education. I saw, but still the path. How do you get hired? How do you get paid? How do you get, like, your understanding can only hasten your ability to connect to that path, right? That's what we're trying to do, right? Trying to reduce the gap, trying to reduce the knowledge gap of how you get from, I'm not blaming my circumstance. I'm saying if I play within the system, there's plenty of opportunity, but I don't even know the game. Nobody's telling me the game.
Hey
And
guys,
sometimes the game
I
who you know and how
want
you
to be
get there.
respectful of our time.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to be respectful of our time. How much time do we have left with you, Dina and Terrence and Haley? Because we're almost,
I have to
we're half
go
an
in
hour
5
in.
minutes. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I'm okay till 3. So.
Okay, so yeah, so what I wanted to do is for the 5 minutes that Terrence has left, I'm really here's my ask of you, Dina. We do need a statement of work to really harness all of the power in my network. But we also need, I think because of the conversation we had last and this one, we also kind of have to come up with a problem statement that we want to create some solution for. So in a perfect
You got it.
world, what could you do to help us with the problem statement and then a scope of work? We already have April 28th penciled in with Jeff Clanagan. We've moved the March 26th meeting to April 28th. The times that they have available are from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. They could be different, but 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We've already told them that it's a hop-in. It's a hop-in system. We need a little bit more specificity into, what hop-in system. Is it enterprise? Is it business?
Well, can we write up so here's the deal. We can pull together all of the run of show production of filling a gap between 1 and 3 on that date, if you can accommodate us for that time period. And then we'll be respectful of what the objectives are. And then what does it take for a statement of work for us to get us from here to there? But I think you have me, other people, Kevin, whatever, that if you give us that level of clarity, what do we need to achieve? What are you looking to get? Who's the audience? what can you provide to help us get from here to there to fill that block? And then most importantly, what does that lead to, right? What is that opening the door for us to do beyond that? I think that's what because I think everybody I'm talking to, and this is behind the scenes, Kevin, everything else, a lot of people are willing to participate, but they want to see how this turns into a path for this program to go beyond that. That's at least, and I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
I'd love for this kick something off that is ongoing down this initiative as opposed to a one-off.
Amen. 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 So before Terrence jumps off, do you guys have any questions, suggestions, or comments for Terrence before he leaves?
I just want to express gratitude, Terrence, that you totally get where our core audience comes from, and that this is an opportunity to address not just like some students, but we created this event around decision makers. And I want you to think about that very carefully. We're targeting decision makers, everybody from campus presidents, provost, dean, department chair, faculty. These are the people who are guiding and shaping the ideas that students get taught. So it's a little bit different than talking directly to students. I'm not saying students won't be part of it, they will. But that's not, it's a different mindset here. It's like you could just shake the faculty. And the reason why decision makers are included also is because people like department chairs and deans, they control hiring decisions.
Of course.
I actually had to make an argument the other day about why Spanish media matters, because we would like to hire somebody who speaks Spanish. Can you believe that crap?
No, that's bull. I mean, in California, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Exactly.
Are you effing kidding me? So no, Dina, one, it is not lost on me, the opportunity that you're presenting. And Kevin, I will say to you this. It changes the dynamic of the level when we talk about bringing in a Jeff Clanagan. His opinion of how things should be shaped raises a level when he can talk to the decision makers of how it gets shaped, different than talking to the students. I know he wants to impact the students, but we're giving him a much higher opportunity, a much better audience. And trust me, if I could bring a Reginald Hudlin to this conversation, I would. Right, I'm just saying, or other producers of color, people who can impact the entertainment business based on the education that's taught here in California as an entertainment alliance opportunity. So one, Dina, thank you. Two, I am honored to be part of that conversation. And if nobody else will jump on, you got all my support. Redbox, I'll bring everything I got.
Thank you so much.
Team. So you have me at a minimum as your worst case scenario. Even if Jeff don't show up, I'm good.
If you're our worst case scenario, then I'm totally in. No, Terrence, thank you so much.
So cool as a continuation of meeting you early. I mean, again, I went back in my email to over a year ago when we first met, and Kevin and the rest, because as I saw you, I'm like, Dana, I remember talking to her, and let me put it in context. You gave me a card and we talked in detail at other events.
Yeah, at Heart Studios.
It's good to see that come back around. So I did not forget that this is not our first rodeo and our first, bite at doing this. So thank you again for the opportunity.
No, it's a pleasure. I'm going to send you a follow-up email that details the audience, that details the ask, that details not just the ask for the April 28th, but like the long-term outcomes. I totally hear all of you. I'll put it in writing. You got it.
Thank you so much. I got a bail, but it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terrence.
Thanks for the opportunity, Kevin.
To be continued. All right. Okay, so Dina, so what I'm going to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, and I have to say that at this point, I got to start beating my own chest by saying there are so many Terrences in my Rolodex, but my Rolodex now has become more of my proof of principle, because I'm going to run it back with Terrence and some of the other people that we've done small pilots, and literally, again, through volunteerism and through experimentation, we know maybe not what to do to create some change or some opportunity for us to do something different. But we know what not to do. We know the politics. We certainly know the barriers for trying to get anything sustainable. Because if a lot of the people who are decision makers, if they don't author it, then it's going to be tough for them to support it. And it's not just, again, being a more of a political football, but I do understand that there's a certain level of trust that
Yeah.
people have to have, that will become, I think, apparent when I start to bring in the Jeff Clanagans and, all of the other corporations that we've danced with, but have never been able to put them into play for decision makers, stakeholders. I'm hoping that that scope of work that you give us will allow each one of the people we've done some work with to say, hey, I can fill that hole, whether it be an Apple, an Intel, an AT&T. These are all people we've danced with, but all of them bring, I think, something a little unique and different to plugging in where you guys see the scope of work going. Because some of them really are looking for something in exchange for any support. And then others, they just have some really good products. Apple has one of the greatest curriculums that I'd like to deploy, but I haven't been able to figure out, how to put it into play because no one's really asked for it. So I'm having a meeting with them on Tuesday. They have a group called the Apple Distinguished Educators. It's probably one of the most unique fraternity sororities of educators who are K through 12, and then they have post-secondary that really do this work because they do want to change the world.
Yeah.
And they do want to use all of the resources that Apple's given them to really experiment with the things that they do have access to, which is those classrooms, to be able to say that, hey, agnostic of platforms or of hardware or software, they can start to test out models. And so Apple Distinguished Educator is somebody that I'd really like to eventually have you guys take a look at what we can do to create a pilot around them. We also have a couple of other software developers who do have some really strong ideas on what they'd like to integrate, but they could be partners, they could be sponsors, or they could be really what I'm looking for long term. I think they could be players and hiring people, because some of these people do really believe that they're looking for talent.
Well, that's the ideal scenario, Kevin, is that we can bring some recruiters to this event to say like, hey, what are you looking for? Put it out there, and we can help amplify that need to our community, which is majority people of color. And so that's something that I would love to include in the summit. Anybody that you know that has a mission-driven incentive to hire people from diverse backgrounds, people of color, people who come from a community college background, our people.
Yeah.
They're not looking to hire from Ivy Leagues, then they can certainly join the summit. We'll give them a booth, and they can potentially connect with entry-level talent that they're looking for. We just need to figure out what is it they're looking for, so that we can somehow figure out a way to match those needs with students coming out of our system, whether it's our system or even other systems. We definitely want to help companies hire people who are young, hungry. They deserve the opportunity. They didn't grow up with a silver spoon in their mouth, and they're going to do a great job.
Yeah. Have you guys followed the apprenticeship model for the Department of Labor?
No.
Yeah. So that's what the community colleges have been challenged. They get a lot of their funding from the Department of Labor. and
Oh.
there's an apprenticeship push that I believe the state universities, any four-year university should be really studying, because they have provided a lot of funding, a lot of political support to
Mhm.
get corporations to buy in this apprenticeship model. And what I'd like to think is that if we could introduce this to the stakeholders, to the decision makers, they might be willing to follow the money and follow the political will to try and get more out of our growth industries here in California. Because the
Hmm.
apprenticeship models in the Department of Labor, there's really very little to show in terms of their investment in state of California. Maybe some in agriculture,
Mhm.
but some in advanced manufacturing, but
Mhm.
zero in digital media or
Mm.
media tech
Mhm.
or any of the
I'm
areas.
looking at that right now. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
but I've been studying this for 3 years now, but there's no audience for me. Even the community colleges, or because it's not something that I truly believe has gotten a critical mass of anybody's attention for various reasons. I have my own ideas, but that's what I want to bring to the table, is how we can create the bridge from academia to workforce using some existing resources that
Yeah.
nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
And when I talk about it, no one listens to me. So I'm going to try and find influencers to start, whether doing public service announcements or hosting some forums where that becomes some part of how people can at least understand the brand.
Yeah.
Apprenticeship California, apprenticeship digital media. Then maybe we can sneak it in some kind of way. And obviously I need to start placing people in apprenticeships. And that's really what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to get some corporations, whether it's Laugh Out Loud or some of the other ones, to create a longer term, different experience than an internship. So
Yeah.
everybody that I talk about apprenticeships, their eyes gloss over, because it's like, well,
No, it's not going to be. I mean, look, we haven't been following the DOL guidelines. Thank you for pointing that out. But apprenticeship is totally on our radar. We have a program with the TV Academy where we take recent grads. So that's the criteria. Like, for example, they have to have just graduated in May. And then we take them on as apprentices in the unscripted space. So we provide the 5 students from Cal State schools. The TV Academy coordinates with the employers, and they convince the employers to create these apprenticeships positions. The TV Academy pays the kids, and they go through like an 8-10 week program. Some of them get hired, some of them don't. But the fact is that we believe that apprenticeship has tremendous value. It's just because they're ready to go.
yeah,
If they prove that they're good, they're ready to sign an employment contract. And that's the difference between an apprentice and an intern.
yeah,
An intern still has some school to finish,
yeah,
but it's not falling on deaf ears. We totally hear you. And we appreciate you pointing out the DOL resource, because I wish that we had more funding to put into that.
yeah. Well, so my goal is to bring again more Terrences, more people and resources, and bundle them so that my organization, Dakar Foundation, can really become a consultant with you guys. I mean, I love being an advisor, and I love being one of the many people who are trying to help. But I think it's now time for me to beat my chest and say that I can, if I get a scope of work of things that you guys need or would like to have, without me introducing new things, I just want to think about the existing things, existing problems that you guys could think I could help with, so I can knock them down one at a time. Because
Mhm.
I don't want to give you guys more work than you currently have to do with, because everybody has to answer to the political climate that they're in right now. So change is not part of what I'm looking for. Initially, I'm looking to try and create some traction. And I asked Terrence to come on so that you can get some understanding of me being able to at least pick off alumni, because they have a connective tissue. They have a psychophysical correspondence with the advisory board. And to some degree, I could really recruit more of those people because I know some of them. I just haven't had a reason to, be deputized, I guess, for that purpose. And that's what, I'm hoping that will become the longer term thing that Terrence is talking about instead of a one-off. Because, I look at the advisory board and I see some of the people who are doing things. I'm competing with some of them, and some of them don't know me, and some of them don't recognize that we could be collaborators. And quite frankly, I don't have the energy to do that kind of work. So I want to try and start to bet on myself and start to take, whatever it is I can do. And then maybe those collaborations will happen. And that's normally what happens with me, is that I get support when I don't need it. I get people, oh yeah, let's think about it. Let's have a conversation. And that's really what's going to probably wind up happening. I think if we pull off this panel and
Yeah.
anything else that we can do in the summit, because I knew when we were doing the Heartbeat Academy, it became a really big momentum builder for a lot of the folks, and won't name names, but it became easier to get my phone calls returned.
Yeah.
And we're bringing that band back together, but it won't be under this auspices of a lot of community-based stuff. It will become something that will have to be undergirded by commitments, and not just, a group of people trying to put it together. But it's going to happen, I believe, because I think people will see how serious people are about making commitments to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Great. So in terms of 428, we had an initial placeholder panel title of like, who is going to have a job in 2021 and why. Given that Terrence is in, what would you change that placeholder title, or would you keep it as is? Or
oh no,
like,
I don't
where are
have.
we at with that?
Right. So again, I defer to you guys based on today's, based on your knowledge of what Dakar can do. I want you to, again, tell us what would be tangible or thematic,
Mhm.
or what your needs are. I mean, again, if Jeff Clanagan's involved, I'm not sure he would speak to anything in particular
And
about
Jeff
that.
is at Heart. Where's Jeff again?
Clanagan. He is Jeff Clanagan is the CEO of Laugh Out Loud, Kevin Hart's radio,
Got
TV,
it.
comedy network. So Laugh Out Loud is the centerpiece for our organization to try and bring some part of Kevin Hart's organization to focus. And Jeff is probably more
Uh-huh.
less a person who can speak about where he believes business under his lens, or in his lens, will be
Yeah,
next
totally.
year.
How do you
So
spell Jeff's last name?
Clanagan, let me put it in. I'll put his LinkedIn here.
Oh, thank you.
So Jeff Clanagan is the person that we're preparing. And again, we moved the March 26th event, which was really focused on a group of my apprentices.
Mhm.
I have a couple of people. I'm going to put this guy in here, but this is Jeff's LinkedIn, Jeff Clanagan. But
Oh,
what Jeff initially was going to do was to talk to
awesome.
students about things he could share on his point of view on where the industry was and where it's going to be, and any opportunities that we could have students ask him, how could they get a job at Laugh Out Loud? Initially, when we were going to do Heartbeat, we didn't think about Jeff, because it was more the business of the Kevin Hart empire that Jeff handles. how to make money, marketing, advertising, licensing, acquisitions. All those things are very, very high level. That's what Jeff does. But it also trickles down to the below the line production, because at the end of the day, that's what Jeff has to do, is you have to balance the books.
Yeah.
So Heartbeat Studios was below the line production, training, and all of the mentorship there was how all these shows got made, and all the roles, all the unions and guilds.
Wait a minute. He's worked with HBO Max?
Oh, Jeff, when you study, and that's why I'm hoping you do, you study Jeff's.
Yeah, I'm just looking at him now.
Code Black Films was his film
Code Black Films, there we go.
company.
Yeah.
That was with Lionsgate. So Jeff has been in the business for many years, managing musician, recording artists. He has learned kind of how all this stuff works in balancing not only the books, but how to create ownership and control of everything that one wants to control. So that's the message that he brings. And
Got it.
his story is one of the things that I hope that you allow our students to create the content, whether it be promotional ahead of the event, or add or promotional insert material that brings a little bit of Jeff's story to the panel or to the event. Because I don't think that
Jeff
anybody
committed to move the March event down
Yes.
to our, okay.
So they've committed from 1 to 3 o'clock. So
Awesome.
that's what we've done, is we've gotten the commitment.
Okay.
So now what I have to do is make sure that we have a match between what you want or what you can think of and how we can really amplify
Got it.
the Jeff Clanagan story,
Got it.
which really again connects to Kevin Hart and all the
Yeah.
other pieces.
Yep, it does. Yep, got it. Okay. Yeah, I think as I mentioned to Terrence, this event is a little different in that you are going to be reaching students, but how would you shift your message if you were reaching decision makers, if you were reaching people who were like hiring faculty lines? How would you change your message if you were talking to teachers in the Cal State system? What would you tell them is missing right now from higher education? How do you think higher ed needs to be violently disrupted to maintain its value? If you're going to go out and pay for a college degree, what do you need to get in return? What are you expecting students with a four-year degree to know and have? And I think that's going to be such valuable information for faculty like myself. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who, like I mentioned to Terrence, takes my cues directly from industry. I'm like, okay, what are the jobs out there? What does the industry want? That's what I'm going to teach.
Right. Okay. Well, I think what
And I can put
help,
that in writing.
Yeah. What could help is those questions, but also and I saw one of the the 5-minute promo reel. I think on YouTube that really promoted the California State University Entertainment Alliance. But if it's part of the production, I'd love to see if there could be sound bites.
Okay.
It could be media assets, even from the faculty or the people with the audience. If we could get some of those questions or statements that he could then say, oh my God, okay, yeah. It could even be social media. It could be, any Twitter or Instagrams or anything that could be stitched together that he could see ahead of the time. But we have the students, and that's really one of the things that I shifted March 26th exercise, which was going to be student focused on them talking to him about putting a media package together that we could share peer to peer. But if I think about it now, this is still a chance for the students I'm working with to take those questions, any assets you have, and then present them to Jeff. So he's okay, yeah. And this gives my then students a chance to work, because really what I'm looking for them is to get something out of this other than just to ask a couple of questions in the chat box.
No, no,
Like,
totally,
yeah, so
totally.
because like Cameron, I would love, Haley, and this is for you. I'd love to have you ask Cameron what he got out of the session we had with Jeff's executive assistant, because they asked questions to her that were really cogent about what I think Jeff wants to talk about, which is
Mhm,
how can you help these people get closer to getting the prescriptive information from
mhm,
him about, it's more importantly, what not to do to try to get a conversation. If you're in a forum or a conference, or you ran into him in an elevator, what could you say to this person to get a business card?
mhm.
And once you get a business card, then how do you follow up to even get an interview, a cup of coffee, whatever? These are the kind of things that I think would be the areas of workforce or education of workforce that I'd like to make sure students are getting some exposure to, how Jeff's culture, how his corporate culture would allow people to say, okay, maybe we need to teach more soft skills, or maybe
Mhm.
these are hard skills that will give somebody a chance to say that, hey, maybe that mentorship we're talking about could become a transparent overlay to the prescriptive course and all the things that we're doing to bring in, the kind of industry stuff that talks about fundamental changes. But at the end of the day, I think that Jeff can talk about, well, here are the things that I want you to think about in meeting people like me,
Okay,
or meeting my staff, or meeting the HR person in our corporation, and getting, some traction with us. And
okay,
if this organization like Dakar can provide that, this is what we would love to make sure is integrated into your mentorship program
great.
or your pipeline
So
development program.
Kevin, we can, so right now, just for the purposes of also creating a placeholder, now that we know that we have the commitments, right? We'll create a title, and then we can add your name and Terrence and
I have
Jeff.
a yeah, I have a
Is that
couple more.
right?
Yeah, well, then so the panel that
And you
we
could moderate the panel. I think you're the best person to do that, honestly. You
okay,
can moderate that panel better than I can if I provide you with some key talking points.
okay. Well,
Is that
I
okay
thank
with
you,
you?
and I take it under advisement that I could do a better job than you. I don't know that I could, but
Yeah, you can.
I do know from a credibility standpoint, we have some people that can extract those questions that you'd like to ask Jeff, and anybody else on the panel who can give that, and again, prescriptive things that can have a longer tail discussion about what's next.
Okay.
What else do we have? Because I think we can bring resources back to the table
Mhm.
for an unscripted conversation. And it doesn't have to be a big production. It doesn't have to, it could just be another Zoom where we can bring those kinds of things in, because
No,
I
I'll make
want to,
sure that we have tangible results. I
yeah,
will. I
because
will
yeah,
take
because
that to
I think
heart. Yeah,
yeah,
I heard that loud and clear,
yeah,
and I
because
agree
I
with it.
truly believe the people that we're going to bring, especially Jeff Flanagan, they do want to have not just social impact. They do, or they want to find talent to help their business.
No, totally. And listen, Kevin, we also want to record all of the sessions that we do at the event and have that media asset live on our website, your website, wherever it needs to go, so that people who can't be there in that moment on April 28th can still access that knowledge and information.
Now, nice. And again, whatever media assets you guys have, YouTube channel, I strongly suggest that you're open to a way for some of this media to be shared with the appropriate audiences
Yeah,
that could become newsworthy,
yeah,
and also promotional. But the idea that I have, and I haven't submitted this to you, is to have some students do this work, to really be part of a crew that builds,
yeah.
produces, and distributes this newsletter, this news product
No,
for.
that totally makes sense. Yes, I will take you up on adding students to that. But I just put in the chat our events page because we record everything.
Okay.
And we have a whole video library of like on-demand videos.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah, students can go to. So whatever we create on April 28th, we would, with of course the panelists' permission, it would live on our video library, and then would obviously also be an asset for Dakar Foundation to, you know, yeah, we want the information to have the widest impact, and so to reach the widest audience. And like, it's going to be a Wednesday afternoon in April, you know, only so many people are going to be able to make it in person. We are going to be focusing on decision makers at that like synchronous time, but we want to make that talk available to students who can watch it like after the fact.
Okay. Okay. And so is 1 to 3 o'clock outside of the window that you guys had scheduled the?
No, that's good.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay. All right. Well, I definitely think that, you know, again, any scope of work you can give me that will allow me to make sure that we're focused on delivering
Okay.
exactly what you want for this first time will
Yeah.
be our goal. And any of the supporting proposals that I submit to you regarding things that we're currently working on
Okay.
to, you know, create more momentum
Yep.
for something like, you know, a heartbeat training program and some other ones that we're looking for. That's really what I'm hoping will be welcomed after April 28th. But the last thing I will say is that I'm also looking for you guys to allow a potential relationship where we could bring in some financial resources. I don't know how that you know, sits with you, but we could possibly bring in some of our partners. Looked at the deck and I look at the sponsorship levels. So try
How
to
does that sit with us? Fantastic. Of course
yeah,
it does,
yeah.
Kevin.
So
Bring
we have,
in money and then let us know if you want to do some kind of deal where any money you bring in, you obviously can get, I mean, like some of that money, because we're not looking to be selfish and just raise funds for us. Let's say that you were to help us sponsor this event. Let's come up with an agreement that's fair to everybody, that we're not taking 100% of it, that the Dakar Foundation benefits as well. I just want to be clear,
well,
100% on that.
and to be clear, I want to be what's the word here? I want to just be a supporter. I'd love to be a yeah, I'd like to be able to be someone who could have a special place in the organization, a brick or somewhere on the wall that we help to get to the goal. So
Kevin,
that's kind of what I'm looking for as opposed.
We're partners.
Yeah. Well,
You guys are working for students. We're working for students. We're doing exactly the same thing in a very, very, very difficult time right now. Our budget's been cut. We've had to let Simone go. We're having a rough time. That's why we're doing this event, to raise some of the funds that we need to keep our programs going. And you guys are in the same situation. So it's okay, sweetie. What's up? Oh, it's okay. It's all good.
but no problem. Hey, so I think we're on the same page. Again, my goal is to not just, you know, have this as a one-off, but to try and create more of a business development role between Dakar and the CSUAA, because I truly believe I can help and I can move the needle. And just want to be focused on doing it within your culture, because I'm now getting a little bit more into thinking about how to build my legacy right now, because I've helped a lot of people. I've been involved for 30 years in community service and as a nonprofit. I'm not going to live forever, and I think it's my time now to figure out, well, how can I make some of this stuff stick? So most of my efforts will be coming more focused on tangible deliverables that will create the kind of the kind of movement that not just, try to find a couple of apprentices and a couple of success stories, but really how to get you guys' brand or our brand out there in competition with some of the other people, because
It's
right now,
our brand together,
yeah,
Kevin. And I
yeah,
just want you to think about this as a starting point, right?
yeah.
I'm going to throw this out there. And we are being recorded. And so I'm putting this out completely on the record, right? And Haley, as financial manager, might get mad at me later, and that's okay. But let's say, for example, you bring in a sponsor. I think it's fair for you to get 75% of those funds, right? We can get 25%. That's just a starting point. Think about that. You bring in a sponsor for 10K, you know? And I think that you should make it clear to whoever you manage to bring in as a fiscal sponsor of the event that you're both supporting the Dakar Foundation and the CSU Entertainment Alliance, because we're partners. We're doing the same exact thing. I want this to be a win-win scenario for everybody. And I'm throwing the 75-25 proportion just to say that I fundamentally believe you should get way more than 50%. We would love to be able to continue to support our programs. You saw that in the sponsorship deck. It's not like we're going to go to Vegas and party with the money. We want that money to go right back to students. We want to get mentorship programs off the ground. We want to support apprenticeship programs. We want to support student housing. We want to give grants, to faculty and student clubs. That's what we do. And you guys are doing a lot of amazing work as well. So I see no reason why we can't work together on this.
Here's my last question.
We have about a month, before the event. If you, through your network of people, you can convince them to sponsor and kick in some funds, those funds are pretty much yours.
You guys have a grant writer in-house? You guys have a grant writer in-house?
Okay, that's a no. We're laughing about that because that's we've wanted that for years. We can't afford it.
It is literally just me and Dina now.
Okay. Well, and the reason I ask is because I do have some people who work on contingency. They only get paid, if they get something.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, these are interesting times. I mean, again, everybody's competing for the same dollar, and I want to try and convince people that if I submit something to them, that it would be on their best interest to jump on now. And I'm gonna talk to people, as if I'm the only, giving them one chance to hop in, because all of the other competitions, the four-year universities, the big names, the HBCUs, they're struggling to get. Well, the HBCUs aren't struggling to get money. And quite interesting, this is one thing that I did think about, is all of the organizations who are getting money nationally, they're trying to get their students to get an education and potentially get the relationships with media tech in California. But I think a lot of people forget there's a lot of students that are here that are paying taxes, and their parents are paying taxes.
Yeah.
And no one's checking for them.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that I think a lot of students don't understand that they're being overlooked, because a lot of these programs and a lot of these organizations who are getting favored nation status are trying to promote inclusion and social and racial injustice. But a lot of those people live right here in California. Mm-hmm. And if the people in California don't realize it, I do, that they have an inherent advantage. They don't have to get a lot of, underwriting for housing and a lot of, golden parachute tickets to get to Hollywood. They're already here, especially the people in Southern California. So
no, totally.
we've got to recognize that we have to put more emphasis on the people that are here in California, and especially Southern California, so that we don't have to make this long haul effort to get people to meet each other. Because when COVID's over, when the pandemic's over, we can go back to start making this a simple match between people that literally are worthy of the Heartbeats and the Jeff Clanagans and all the other people in your advisory board, and really push for California first.
Totally.
So that's what I'm going to be really focusing on
Thank you,
politically.
Kevin, thank you. And logistically, we have an account in Long Beach at the Chancellor's office. We can receive sponsorship funds. So let's say you were able to get some funds. I just want to put it out there that it's pretty easy for us to be able to receive and give out funds, I hope, right? I know receiving is easy. Haley's laughing because she knows that spending money in a state system is not as easy as it sounds. But what I'm saying is, if you bring the sponsor, we will set them up with an official agreement. We will, provide a very easy way that they can make a credit card donation to our account. And then you and I would agree on Dakar Foundation receiving a portion of those funds. And so you just need to think about that. I want to put it out there. That has my full support. Absolutely.
Okay, and I lied. One last question. Do you guys have?
Yeah, I'm going to need to hop in 2 minutes. I really need to go to the restroom, and I have a meeting at 3.
One last question. You guys have a database of all the alumni, especially people who are in pretty nice positions, whether they be celebrities or award winners. Do you guys have a database of those people?
We don't have an exact database, but we do have a couple of Google Docs that have distinguished alum from our system that Simone put together for us, frankly. Yeah, we don't have a huge database, but we do have a couple of docs with distinguished alum. Do you want us to share those with you?
Absolutely. I mean,
Sure.
again, you should be adding people like Terrence, because
Yeah, you're right.
we've got a few other ones that I didn't know went to Long Beach State and Cal State
Yeah.
LA, but there's a lot more
That's
of that
awesome.
that will help to create the branding of what we're going to
Mhm.
be talking about, so that people
Great.
understand, some of the names and faces that make this a kind of a bandwagon they should jump on.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get that doc. And then in terms of next steps, I know that I need to write you an email. You and Terrence need to get an email of like, who's the audience? Why does this matter? And a couple of talking points for the panel that you can eventually share with Jeff. And I will do that. It's either going to be today or Monday, no later than Monday, promise. And what else? And then I'll share that alumni list with you. What else, Kevin, do you need?
That's about all I can think of
like,
now. I will send emails if I can think of anything else that I can integrate into a kind of a task sheet, because I'm going to be starting to put promotional pieces together. So that
Oh, you wanted the video, right? So the video about like the CSU, why the CSU matters. We have that video.
I've got the one
We
thing
can
on
share that.
YouTube, but anything else that you think that is on the cutting room floor or just raw video,
Okay,
because I'm going to really have my promo pathway students put together promotional reels.
okay,
That we can, start looking at these video assets that could become part of our panel or part
sounds
of.
good.
Okay.
Okay,
And both the young ladies are Cal State alumni from Northridge and LA.
okay, sounds great. Thanks,
All right.
Kevin.
And send me the recording of this, okay, as soon as you can.
Will do.
All
Will
right.
do.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right,
Bye.
bye.